Hiya! Welcome to LSB Feasters radio channel, where we keep great radio from the past alive. And today, we're going to New York City and News Radio 88 WCBS. WCBS was a staple for New York City for decades, delivering breaking news and information to its listeners. WCBS was known for its in-depth coverage of local, national, and international events. The station has played a vital role in keeping New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut informed. WCBS had a team of experienced journalists and reporters like Charles Osgood, Lou Adler, Jim Donnelly, Pat Parson, Ben Farnsworth, Don Swaim, Jeff Caplan, Wayne Cabot, and so many other names have kept New Yorkers informed. The station's commitment to providing reliable and accurate news has made it a trusted source for countless New Yorkers, from the station's launch in 1967 till it came to an end in 2024. In August 2024, the company that owned WCBS, Odyssey, decided the station would no longer continue with its all-news format. Odyssey would keep 880 in its stable of stations, while Good Karma Broadcasting would program the station and flip it to ESPN New York. This Aircheck features the very last morning show with Wayne Cabot and Paul Murnane on WCBS Newsradio 880 New York.
Everything you need to know every time you listen. This is Wake Up with Wayne and Paul on WCBS 880 News.
Good morning on this Thursday. It is August 22nd. I'm Paul Murnane, WCBS News Radio 88. I've been telling you this week how I take comfort in referring to the station, identifying it that way. And I'm happy to say that this morning, my last on air at WCBS in a 29-year-plus career began as they always do, with the scramble at 5 o'clock and the realization, oh, I'm on the air in a couple of minutes, and producer Rivka Oppenheim in my ear telling me Sean's here and Craig's here and Tom's here, and the usual routine. But for today, it really is anything but. We will honor the wonderful tradition of this radio station. I'll tell you about how I took part in a project honoring the entire 100-year history of the station that became WCBS. There's a lot to get to, but what people have been telling us is how much we are a part of their routine, and how they actually set their clocks actually by, you're doing this and I'm not in the parking lot, I know I'm going to miss my train. Or if I don't leave when you're doing this, I know I'm not going to, I'll be stuck in traffic. So let's get right to it this morning. It's 5:04 at WCBS. Craig Allen's forecast for today, maybe a little fleecy thing on the air and on you before you go out the door. 75 for the high with the sun and some clouds around today. And we'll check Craig's forecast and Tom Kaminsky coming up.
That's one thing I'm learning.
One of the things we've been learning is that there is a whole wonderful history to the radio station that became WCBS that will be 100 years old next month. 100 years old, the station that became WCBS. Wayne and I went downstairs to what they call the Plotkin studio here at Odyssey, New York. He has lovingly, Dave Plotkin, assembled such a collection of material from this radio station, some of it going back to the 1920s. And Wayne and I voiced a special that, in addition to what we're doing at 10 o'clock this morning, is going to be airing multiple times. I know Saturday morning at 8 a.m., I'm told it is set to roll. That'll include a retrospective of the wonderful history of this radio station long before it was all news. And speaking of all news, we've been going through the history of WCBS 880. And we go back to the summer of 1977. Pat Parson, Ben Farnsworth in the insufferable heat of July 12th, 1977, in their wonderful bickering way. 104 degrees that day.
That makes today the hottest day in New York City in 11 years. The last time it reached this level was July 3rd, 1966, and the all-time of 106 was set on July 9th, 1936. Good afternoon. I'm Pat Parson with Ben Farnsworth.
When the temperature's higher than my bowling score, I know it's getting hot. Of course, right around your golf score, I guess, Pat.
Your IQ.
It's 8 minutes now after 3 o'clock. He's Pat Parson. I'm the nice guy. Bend Farnsworth. Noticeably cooler, less humid, lows 64 to 69 degrees. And then tomorrow, bright sunny skies, comfortably warm, dry air, highs 82 to 87. And then on Saturday, sunny and delightful. Oh, a beautiful weekend, highs in the middle 80s. And then on Sunday, partly sunny, breezy and warm, highs 84 to 88 degrees. If you care to look ahead to Monday, it's going to be up around in the 80s on that day, too. Cloudy, a little more humid, though. 104 degrees out there, and it feels like a lot more, I'll tell you. Partly sunny right now, Midtown.
Oh, I do want to believe Bob Harris about that cool weather coming. A lot of fingers crossed with a continued heat wave.
And it was interesting. I looked at that, and that is from the website of a WCBS employee, Don Swaim, who was a producer, a writer, an editor here, an anchorman as well. He has a WCBS 880 appreciation site out there, and thank you, Don, for that. And July 12th, 1977, and they're talking about a break in the weather that's coming. And I'm wondering, in hearing that, and I had a chill down my spine as I was hearing this, the blackout of 1977 was on July 13th, and I'm wondering if that break in the weather set off the lightning strike that gets the credit for setting off the events that led to the lights going out. One can only wonder. Wonderful history here. We're saying our goodbyes. Levon Putney, WCBS 880, such a wonderful part of things here. He said his goodbye.
My first few days as our reporter in Jersey, reporter Peter Haskell took me around, showed me the ropes, introduced me to folks, and they would call every few days to see how I was adjusting, like a big brother. Former reporter, writer, and editor Jane Tillman Irving calling me to say, Levon, you'd use bad grammar in this story, do it again. And she was right. She always was. And co-anchor Vicki Allen felt so bad one night that I had to take a taxi in because somebody stole the tires off my car. She paid the $80 fare for me to get in for my shift. These are the kind of people who worked here. That's why we were great.
Thank you very much.
Did he ever pay her back?
You know, we're going to be the good memories, the bad. A little dirty laundry, I think we may air today, too. Hello, Wayne. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Paulie.
Let's head to the traffic center now. Tom Kaminsky, Mark's Panic, your sponsor.
Don't let anybody into that studio these from the last couple of days, won't they? Oh, good morning, Wayne, as well. And good morning again, Paul. Wrapping up there. I'm Tom Kaminsky in the WCBS Traffic Center.
Did you notice the ticker he's putting under you? Did you hear that?
Ah, very nice.
That goes back. Hey, listen, we had a ticker, too. Wayne, did you want to feel like you wanted to come in a little bit early in the studio for just to have like that this final morning?
What makes you say that, Paul? Just because I barged the door open and elbowed my way in here?
Are we going to be pulling you out by your anchors, by your ankles, and your fingers will be clawing at the carpet?
Anchors by the ankles. I like that.
It could work. Craig Allen in the Weather Center this morning, Craig.
I like the ticker. I remember that, you know, and it's interesting because then we were the ones with the fly swatter that said, let's knock out the noise, and we got rid of the ticker and the teletype after that.
They're collector's items, by the way.
I still have them.
I don't know how you guys feel about it. I love it. I think it just adds texture and sound to it. You know immediately that you got the news station on. There's a difference of opinion among people in the business whether or not it sounds antiquated, but I just think it sounds cool. That's it.
That's it. It is antiquated, but it's cool. It really is. So keep that going. Today's high will be up near 75 degrees. Tonight's low down to 60 to 65 with 50s in the suburbs.
Craig Allen, part of the weather history here. We had a mention there of Bob Harris. I have a Gordon Barnes audio later on, Wayne, to play. Such a wonderful history here.
Climate denier.
Oh,
yeah.
There's
That kind of rocked us.
He wasn't necessarily on board with. Well, you know more about it than I do. Yeah.
I mean, I just thought I'd point that out. I mean, the guy was a great forecaster and a great presence, but that kind of marred his record, I have to say.
It's 60 now. Humidity 69%. A west wind at 8. Today's high near 75.
You know, we have been here on the AM radio band for all of these years, but one of the great honors it has been for us is that we're on CBS FM, a legendary radio station in its own right, too.
Oh, boy, it really is. I've been so proud to share those call letters. WCBS AM and FM. And now it's WCBS FM. After Monday, and Fox and Annie have come by our newsroom to hang out with us for a little bit this morning. Well, it took our last day for you guys to finally show up.
It was very hard to get into the studio, by the way.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
when you get through everybody. But, man, I can't believe that we're here talking about this morning on both 880 and 101.1. And to think that this all started back in the beginning on 101, and then the return to 101 here, and Wayne and Paul to have woke up our audience the entire time and really kicked off our show. We're brand new to 101.1, Fox and Annie, and you guys have been really the best part of our start to our day. So
because you get to sleep in. I understand how that works.
Okay, I get to sleep in, 15 or 20 minutes longer? Because,
now we know.
Because you're on. But you guys are some of the most incredible people I've ever met. And Wayne, you're unbelievable. And Paul, to see you,
thank you,
do this in the real and be a part of this morning it's unbelievable. And that's really all I wanted to say to you guys is you're here and you're doing it, and you get to see this out and get to see this just go. So it's amazing to be here, and thank you so much for everything, and you're awesome.
Yeah, and Wayne and Paul, just want to say a big thank you. You guys really get our morning started. I have a very, very long commute. I commute pretty much from Canada, well, Dutchess County, but you guys have really offered a lot of companionship. So take everything away. The one thing that you can never take away from radio is the immediate companionship and love you feel for the person on the other end. So I, for years, listened to Levon Putney driving into work when I worked at WPLJ, years ago before they went away, and I always felt like I knew him, and I was on the other side of that. So for Wayne and Paul, same thing for you guys. And our listeners love you. We love you. And you kick off our morning with not just the hard, heavy news, but with humor. And I love your stories about your families, your partners, your frozen windshield. Sometimes, Wayne, you always talk about like what your morn's like getting here.
Oh, you want to hear about this morning?
Yeah, tell me about this morning.
This morning,
this is a story.
My last day, I go down to the driveway and I got a flat tire.
No!
There's a nail in my tire, right. And I got it pumped up. I got my big battery thingy pumper, and it was very loud, waking the entire neighborhood at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, but you know what? It's for the last time, sadly. Sweetly, bittersweet. I got to point out, by the way, John, you mentioned about how we started on CBS FM with All News, and for anybody who's not aware, it's because on the day of our launch, hours before the day of our launch,
there was a development.
A small plane hit the tower and took it right down in what we now regard as a bit of foreshadowing.
We have the audio of that first. we have the audio of that debut, and they say on WCBS FM.
Oh, you'll be hearing that as we remember throughout the day today.
A little foreshadowing there, yes, definitely.
Well, thank you for the smiles, guys, each and every morning. Thank you.
You're incredible. It's been such a great time with you, and enjoy your time today. As odd as that may seem, this is your time and your moment to take it all in. So thank you for being so incredible to us.
Now, Fox and Annie, John, you're the programmer, right? You run the station.
I'm also the brand manager of 101.1.
So you make the hiring decisions? Where do we
say?
Do you want to cassette or reel with the tails out? How do you like
here's
it?
what I would like: an old school like reel to reel DAT. If you could send that over. Does anyone even know what those things are anymore?
Listen, it's been so long since we've been looking for jobs. You may get a typewritten page and a cassette tape in the mail. That's how long.
That'd be refreshing. That'd be nice.
Someone's telling me it's time to wrap this thing up here.
Well, I want to say thanks to Fox and Annie and producer Heather this morning. It has been wonderful being on with you.
Love you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Love you.
Wake up with Wayne and Paul on WCBS FM and AM weekday mornings at 5:30. Get everything you need to know every time you listen to WCBS 880 AM. And for your favorite music, stay with WCBS FM 101.1 all day long.
Now the beatniks are taking over on the FM band now, and we can continue doing what we do on the AM with we're wearing ties this morning. We haven't worn ties to work.
Know.
And you said to me, when was the last time anyone wore a tie to work?
It's a sign of respect for the heritage of this radio station that we grew up just admiring, and we are proud to still be here and to be allowed the opportunity to sing the praises of this great radio station. It's no small thing for a radio company to allow people to come on and give a goodbye. That doesn't often happen. So we're very grateful. Chris Olivero, Ben Maverick, Ivan Lee, thank you guys. We really appreciate that.
It's to trust us after the announcement is really something, and it's very much appreciated for sure.
Appreciated and perhaps foolhardy. We'll see how it goes as the day wears on. Thank you.
There's the sound of the traffic story for you. Let's head to the traffic center right now. Tom Kaminsky, come on in.
Chopper now, right? We got the chopper going?
Yes, indeed.
Go ahead.
548.
Yes. Hi. How are you?
We'll get this right one of these days.
I'm glad to see, by the way, we have this down after all this time.
Still here for now. Let's
Hold on. Stop. Stop. Let's do this again. You ready? Here we go. Helicopter Traffic Watch, Tom Kaminsky.
All right, Traffic Watch Helicopter. Let's go over here to the Staten Island Expressway, which is in pretty good shape here.
Good morning, I'm Jim Donnelly.
I'm Lou Adler.
And I'm Robert Vaughn.
Harvey Hoffman.
Rita Sands. Headlines coming up.
Breaking news. We'll cover it all. I'm Pat Parson.
I'm Ben Farnsworth.
Headlines coming up. This is John Whitebread.
At the anchor desk, this is Tom Franklin.
Updates on the top stories, I'm Bob Glenn.
Headlines coming up. This is Bill Thayen.
This is Gary Moore.
Good morning, this is Gil Gross. Keep tuned for the day's top news.
Sports is
my assignment at News 88. I'm Ed Ingalls.
Coming along soon, I'm Bill Schweitzer.
This is Barry Landers.
Win Elliott with Sports Central USA.
Health is
what I report on. I'm Charles Crawford.
Advances in medical research. I cover that field. I'm Lou Adler. Medical news. I cover it. I'm Mel Granite.
I'm Dr. Stephen Andrew Davis.
Weather is
what I report on. I'm Craig Allen.
I'm Todd Glickman. The forecast coming up.
Money is
market trends and prices. I'm Ken Pruitt.
This is Marshall Loeb with Your Dollar.
Knowing your consumer rights. I'm Elaine Rose.
This is Joe Durso Jr. Stay tuned for Report to Consumers.
Travel is.
This is Steve Birnbaum. Stay tuned for my report.
Entertainment is
the new film in town. I'm Jeffrey Lyons.
Where it's at and where it's gonna be is
the political scene. I'm Steve Flanders.
I'm Stephanie Shelton with What's Happening.
I'm Rob Sunday with News from the Grapevine.
I'm Jane Tillman Irving with Perspective.
This is Anna Masakowski with Report on Women.
This is Steve Reed with Perspective.
How to get you in and out of town is
from the News 88 Chopper. This is Neil Bush. Traffic report coming up. This is Lou Timmerlund. In the News 88 Copter, this is Tom Selleck.
No matter where the news is made, we're here to tell it best. WCBS New York. WCBS New York.
Rita Sands recalls how it felt to be at the anchor desk amid the bedlam of breaking news and the confidence knowing no one does it better.
And first you'd see the bulletin light over the console. We'd have a bulletin sounder. Let's go live to our reporter in the field. People who were real loyal listeners stop. They hold their breath. They pull over. They really listen. Because the very next thing you would hear would be one of the voices of our street reporters, Rich Lamb.
People are standing on their feet, cheering.
Or you'd hear Art Athens.
I'm going to run out in the hall because something else is going on, Rich.
Or Tim Sheld.
People are still streaming out, being
Irene Cornell.
Electrical storms just prior to the blackout.
Fred Fishkin.
The waves are furious out there.
Steve Reed.
Shattered glass, a lot of police sirens.
Mary Gay Taylor.
The dust is still swirling all around downtown Manhattan.
Steve Flanders.
Doc said he'll make known his decision next week.
Jerry Nachman, God rest his soul. And in a certain kind of story would also be Tom Kaminsky and Craig Allen. Any one of those voices, the people that have been around New York for a long time, close their eyes. They know what that sounds like. And they know that they're going to do one heck of a job in setting out to explain what happened in pictures of the mind.
We'll be talking also today with Jane Tillman Irving. At least she is coming to our party. We'd like to have a minute with her, one of the wonderful reporters as well here. And I can tell you, I came here as a reporter, and carrying the WCBS 880 microphone, people come up to you, they want to tell you things. It opens doors. And to be a reporter and to get a glimpse behind the curtain of everything here in this city, those are the memories I'm going to cherish. You know, being invited into, a mayor or a governor's office.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes, it would just be the two of you just sitting there talking because, they knew, WCBI, I talked to them, I'm going to get my message out.
It occurred to me that through this radio station, I've had an opportunity to interview everyone from Malala to Joey Chestnut. That pretty much covers it, doesn't it?
I shook a Pope's hand when he came in and when he was leaving Newark. John Paul II, he came over and went down the line and he was shaking hands. And I put my hand out and I'm like, I'm shaking the hand of the Pope.
That is the privilege of this job.
It really is. And we're doing our best to honor the tradition today, and we will be doing that all day long as we say goodbye to WCBS Newsradio 88.
Today at 10 a.m., join us for a special audio journey. WCBS 880 News. The people, the moments, the events that shaped our lives. Wayne Cabot, Paul Murnane, and Bridget Quinn host a 3-hour special with interviews, conversations, and the memorable stories that defined us. Today at 10 a.m. on WCBS 880 News.
WCBS New York. WCBS
I think we could have started, if we knew we were going away a year ago, we could have started reading all the messages from our listeners, and I don't still think we would have had time to get to them all. But I want to get to Jim. Good morning. It's my 28th anniversary in law enforcement. Growing up as far back as I remember, my dad tuned in to News Radio 88 to get the news and traffic as he read it himself. For the last 28 years, while I'm getting ready for work, WCBS was playing. Paul Murnane Wayne Cabot, I sincerely thank you for your service, and God bless all who need jobs. And Jim, I promise you I will accept your friend request on social media. I'll have some time to do that now in the many hours of free time ahead.
Debbie from Wantagh just called in to say we've been a beacon in her life. Thank you, Debbie, and to mention all the late nights that we got her home. I thought that was our secret, Debbie, but okay. If you want to share that with the world, that's fine. Can I
tell you how much I've enjoyed the 88 Seconds in Sound and your work on them over the years? It's really, they're all great.
Thank you. And for the record, 88 Seconds is just it's a
nice name.
An idea.
In theory,
it's a concept.
It looks good on paper, as they say.
Thankfully, the bosses were never running a stop clock, and here is 88 Seconds and then some. For this date, August 22nd. 2021 would be the second wettest summer in New York City history, as a hurricane hit with Russian waters and a French name.
Henri arrived in force. New York City saw one of its hardest downpours in history.
Anybody else in your car?
This is audio from our WCBS Facebook page of Newark cops doing one of 86 rescues as cars got swamped at Wilson Avenue. Hoboken was a square mile and a foot deep in water. Brooklyn drivers abandoned their cars in streets. Water poured into subways. The Sawmill and Bronx River Parkway were closed for 2 days. Crews used snowplows to scrape off 4 inches of mud. The water hit Middlesex County so fast and so hard it knocked over an ice cream store refrigerator.
It's coming down at the rate of 1 to 2 inches per hour.
It hit Central Park so hard and so fast, it set the record for the wettest hour in New York City history. 1.94 inches of rain, a record that would last for only 11 days, until Ida hit on September 1st, dumping an unreal 3.15 inches in 1 hour, swamping Central Park and the subways. This is now the norm. Big storms in the past half-century have dumped 55% more rain on us than back in the days of Elvis. Say what you want about the government, but it would never knowingly allow us to breathe dangerous air, right? In 2018, it did. When the EPA relaxed pollution rules on coal-fired power plants, it admitted.
Well, the EPA is openly admitting that President Trump's new coal-burning policies might kill up to 1,400 people a year. And that's because of an increase in an extremely fine particulate.
And everyone should wake up as I have this morning with a sense of purpose and determination to come in on your last day and make a difference and talk about how great the station is. And I walk into the kitchen, and my wife and daughter had decorated the kitchen with balloons. And they were there applauding.
That's sweet.
And there were coffee. There was coffee. There were donuts. The Louie the cat and Coco the terrier were up. Thank you, Rita Murnane and Katie Murnane, for putting up with this. I suppose I can drop the whole ruse that I'm leaving quietly in the morning and I never wake up the rest of the house. My wife actually once said to me, and this is a true story, "You put on your coat so loud." I said, well, it's winter. It's 10 degrees. There are zippers. There are buttons and snaps and Velcro. So maybe I'll work on quiet Velcro in my retire or whatever is coming up for me next.
You know, our son Adam came over last night for enchiladas. He's 30 years old, and he said it finally hit him Monday when he put the radio station on because Dad has always been on the radio his entire life. Dad has always been on WCBS his entire life. He said it's like the sun coming up, sun going down, and Dad on the radio, it was always there, always consistent. I can report the sun has risen. It's a beautiful morning, and it's 60 degrees right now in New York. WCBS News Time, 6:36. Now, I see we have an O'Reilly Auto Parts commercial here, Paul, but do you have handy the Tom Carvel?
Do I have handy?
I think we should go to Tom Carvel, because this radio station really didn't get a whole lot of advertisers in the early days of all news, and then Tom Carvel came around and began buying up the schedule. I heard one person say, it was Steve Porter, one of the original anchors, said WCBS was built on Cookie Puss.
Exactly. And sometimes the commercials came out, well, they were a masterpiece.
We're here at Carvel College with 2 Hindu gentlemen. How long you been in this country?
4 weeks ago we came to US.
Came here? Now where you got a Carvel store?
Well, Carvel store is the Lewisburg, Pennsylvania.
In Lewisburg?
Lewisburg.
Who makes the ice cream and cakes in your store? Who's the cake decorator? Who's better, you or your son?
I and my son both.
Your son is good? Are you going to say anything at all? Are you going to have Wednesday is Sunday at your carvel store? Say that. Say Wednesday is Sunday.
Wednesday is Sunday.
It's Sunday. Carvel store. That's right now. Do you know what thinny thin is? Thinny thin. Dietary frozen dessert.
Dietary frozen
dessert, right?
Yeah.
Now you got a carvel store and you're going to give away flying saucers disc.
Flying saucer disc.
With the purchase of a cake, right? Free, right?
Free.
And are you the cake decorator?
Yes.
And where's your carvel store again? Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. Thank you.
I'm going to air some dirty laundry now.
Oh, of course.
Well, only because in all the years you and I have worked together, and when you were playing that old music, it made me think about it. Yeah. We've only had one fight. You and I have only had one fight.
What was that? About music?
It was because you played something old and I called you Grandpa on the air.
Oh, and I was like,
you were furious.
I said, I just can't. There's music. Yeah, I don't really remember that.
But you were right. I got a little bit too big for my britches. I wasn't being as respectful as I should have been. And that was it. Never did it again until now.
Okay.
But the point is, you and I were a team that loved each other, never fought, had a great time.
As opposed to some others.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think that's what you're getting into right now, isn't it?
July 12th, 1977, in the insufferable heat, 104 degrees, report Pat Parson and Ben Farnsworth on WCBS.
That makes today the hottest day in New York City in 11 years. The last time it reached this level was July 3rd, 1966, and the all-time of 106 was set on July 9th, 1936. Good afternoon. I'm Pat Parson with Ben Farnsworth.
When the temperature's higher than my bowling score, I know it's getting hot. Of course, right around your golf score, I guess, Pat.
You're right.
IQ. It's 8 minutes now after 3 o'clock. He's Pat Parson. I'm the nice guy, Ben Farnsworth. Noticeably cooler, less humid.
Hey, you know what? Ben's going to be on this afternoon. Actually, this morning he'll be on.
We're doing 10 to 1. We're doing a retrospective of WCBS Newsradio 88 years. That's July 12th, 1977. They talk about a break that's coming in the weather. The blackout of 77 began on July 13th. So I'm wondering if the fact that it's going to go from 104 down into the 80s, if that unleashed the change in the weather, including the lightning bolt that is credited for setting off the events for the blackout of 77.
Well, hold up.
Wonder about
as long as you're mentioning that, look what I've got ready to go here. Art Athens on the blackout. I think we have a minute for this.
Come on. Bring your film.
Coming out of the commercial from 1977.
We're the place for people who love to take pictures.
Caldor.
And save money while saving holiday memories.
And now we continue with 88, looks at 77.
I can guarantee that the chances of a brownout or a blackout are less than they've been in the last 15 years.
Charles Luce, chairman of the board of Conn on ABC's Eyewitness News Conference a week before the blackness came.
And that the chances are less here than in most other cities in the United States. I can't guarantee, however, that because we do use machines, and the machines are run by human beings, that under no possible circumstances could it happen, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Think again. 9 p.m., July 13th, one of the many conversations between the New York Power Pool and Con Ed's Energy Control Center.
Bill, I hate to bother you, but you better shed about 400 megawatts of load or you're going to lose everything down there.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
You're trying to? All you got to do is hit the button or shed it, and then you worry about it afterwards. But you got to do something. They're going to come in and tie on you.
Yeah, right.
That conversation was followed a half hour later by...
If anyone can still hear me, we are having electrical difficulties in at least this portion of Manhattan.
Anchorman Greg Baker trying to broadcast to News 88 listeners. It was 9:34, and the blackout that couldn't happen was happening.
I worked at other radio stations with Art Athens and also with Lou Adler and Rob Sunday. So when it came time, when I found out about the job here, Lou Adler in particular, I remember saying, you want me to make a call? I said, yeah, that might help me get the job. And when I got the job, I called to thank them all. And Rob Sunday said, Paul, you reprobate.
I can
here
confirm.
I am all these years later.
That is one of the many things I can confirm.
There's one of the few things you've called me that we can say on the radio, by the way.
We can say anything now. Gates are open. But we won't. We're respectful. We're appreciative that we have this opportunity.
Good morning to @Gilco Games on Twitter. I know I'm just a little guy out here, but it's bittersweet. Thank you both for all you've done over the last week to honor all those who you've worked with. Looking forward to this today, but it's going to be like watching the last episode of MASH. And you see what he sent? He texted that picture of Goodbye in the Rocks, that last scene in the TV series MASH. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
There were so many, as we said, if we knew a year ago that this place was going away, we could have started reading all the messages we get, and we wouldn't have had time for all of them.
I'm thinking it's more like the last episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, where everybody gets fired but Ted Baxter. And I always thought, Paul, that you might be the last guy standing.
Thank you. I appreciate that sweet sentiment.
Oh, you love it. You know you love it. And also, I want to play the station ID here, because over the years, we've had so many what they call voices of God on this radio station at all kinds of hours of the day or night. Bob Glenn here. Even sometimes God gets a little confused. Bob Glenn with the station ID.
13 minutes before 7 o'clock on WCBS Newsradio 88, your station for news and information in New York, New Jersey, and Kentucky.
Hi, this is producer Lou Zambrana, and WCBS has meant so much to my life. I've learned so much here, and I'm really thankful for all the things that I've learned and all the experiences that I've had in news. There's so many great memories, and I just want to thank the listeners who have stuck with us. Your words of support have meant so much to me, and I know to all of us, so thank you.
Hey, Lou, thank you. Lou's got a great ear for production. Great nose for news, and I would suggest, like so many great quality people we have here in our newsroom, if you're looking to hire somebody for whatever, I would put out that radio help wanted ad right now.
We have so much to get to, and we want to keep reminding people how great our people are.
726, CBiz Marks Paneth, the New York area's premier accounting, tax, and advisory firm. Hello, Sandy. From Long Island, right?
Staten Island.
Staten Island.
Yeah, part of the team, and we understand. Your words mean so much to us. Thank you, Sandy, Staten Island, loyal WCBS listener.
And I just got a note from somebody who wants to hear those 1990s era sounders and jingles and identifiers. Okay, this one's for you, sir.
Looking ahead in our lineup, and I see at 7:45, it just says Craig. So at 7:45, Mr. Craig Allen will be on to do his goodbye. We heard from Tom a little bit earlier about all his adventures, and Craig at 7:45.
And now we're going to hear from one of the many people who got their start here at WCBS and moved on to great things. We think of Kevin Burkhardt now, who did sports for us for a long time in the afternoon. And
Deborah Rodriguez went to the radio network.
Mm-hmm. And Kevin Connors is on ESPN. Big star on ESPN. Before that, well, he had a different name here on the radio. And here he is to talk about that. Hey, Kevin.
I started at WCBS in 2004 when I was 29, but not as Kevin Connors. There was already a Kevin Connors on New York City airwaves, so I became KC Connors. A small adjustment for the biggest break of my career. I will always cherish the opportunity I had to deliver news to New Yorkers. It was a privilege. And it was a similar privilege to work alongside, in my opinion, the most talented news team in the industry. But that's not what stands out all these years later. It's the quality of the people who made up that team. The dedication they showed, yes, but the genuine care they had for others. And for me, that is the legacy of WCBS 880.
Kevin, thank you so much. Good morning to Catherine Hogan emailing us that Wayne, Paul, Craig, Allen, Tom are my BFFs. And by extension, Rivka Oppenheim, she writes to us this morning, since she was always praised by the team. These morning team members are inclusive and a wonderful group of professionals. She says Wayne and Paul have the rare gift of sharing humor consistently. Just as important, the humor never detracts from the integrity of the news reporting. I loved how they would not stifle over the rare mistakes, pretend they didn't happen. It actually honors the intelligence of the audience when you say things like, what does this button do? I kind of quibble with the notion of rare mistakes. I think they were more than a rare event, but I learned working with you, Wayne. It's like, if you have one of those moments, just acknowledge it and move on. So,
right. Don't pretend like it didn't happen, because everybody heard it.
Right.
Just a little nod and then move on.
The quote-unquote rare mistakes.
Yeah. He, obviously not a careful listener.
I was going to say not a daily consumer.
But Kevin Connors just mentioned there about how there is so much humanity and the station caring, and that extends to our listeners. I have to pass along something that really gripped me, and that is from a listener named Nat Rosen, who said, each year I promised myself that I would find the money to have the winning Hungerthon bid and spend the day with you. I didn't want the tour of the studio or even the sound check. I really just wanted to chat with a kindred spirit and let you know how appreciated your asides and color commentaries are. Sounds good so far, right? Yeah, well,
yeah.
So
far it's terrific.
Then he says, I often wondered how you even got away with some of the things that you said. But each time you'd show up on the air the next day, so I guess the bosses and sponsors could find it in their hearts to forgive you when you said things like, after a commercial for the bacon-wrapped double bacon burger, you said, McDonald's is just giving out heart attacks. Following a story about recreational marijuana, you said, I held that hit in for the entire length of the story. I don't remember saying that.
I was the one who always behaved himself.
On this date, he says, in 1902, I was doing a little retrospective, 1902, Levi Strauss died. He had no children, leaving no one to pass his genes to. All right, I might have said that. But I want to thank you for checking in and telling us, like the musical rejoins and you and me, Paul, together in the morning, and it's been such a pleasure for all of us.
If there was a museum of puns, we'd have an entire wing.
I think we're just a couple of dads doing the dad jokes, that's all. 7:44.
Hey, it's Mac Rosenberg with WCBS since 2018. You know, this place has many meanings for me. It's a mix of friends, family, and telling the stories that matter to you. And the stories that make you curious, that make you think. More than just the headlines, you might say. Yeah, that's been the mission since day one, and it's been an honor to work with and emulate the people I grew up listening to. The people and the relationships make the job.
You know, you and I, Wayne, grew up listening to WCBS, and we had our mentors in the business, and it's so, again, on our last day, it's a measure of comfort to hear from Mac and from Steve Burns and from the new generation of News Radio 88 people that came in while we were the old men on the radio, and to know that they listened to us when they were kids.
And now we're going to hear from one of the guys we listened to then who is still with us now. You ready for this?
News is
at the anchor desk, Jim Donnelly and Robert Vaughn.
Weather is
what I report on. I'm Craig Allen.
Now, did you notice Craig Allen sounded a little younger?
It's a little octave or so higher, maybe the voice register.
It's all that Scotch whiskey over the years, I suppose.
Either that or going through puberty, and finally reaching,
You were young.
Yes,
young.
I was.
1981, right?
81. And, it's so interesting because now I'm one of those old guys, but, there were a lot of very funny reasons for 88 to search for a new meteorologist back then and, to protect the not so innocent. I'm not going to go into some of those stories, but...
Oh, I will later, don't worry.
I'm sure you will. But I auditioned with Lou Adler and Jim Donnelly, and if you remember the movie Airplane, do you remember how Ted Stryker was sweating when he was trying to land that plane off of his forehead? Well, that was me. I left a puddle on the desk there, but at the end, Lou looked at Jim, and Jim said, "The kid's okay." And I'll never forget those words because that's what got it started. I was going to have to be sitting with them. Which I did at the beginning. I did come in on several occasions, but I was absolutely in awe that I was now working with some of these great names, and along the way, it's such a subjective business, as we know, but along the way, some contracts were renewed easily, others were not. We also had the weather guarantee. Have you thought about that? Do you remember that?
Yes, we mentioned that a day or two ago. You had to be within 5 degrees either way of the high temperature, or we had to pay out $1,000. I always wondered, did they dock you for that?
Well, no, it didn't come from me, but I was always the one that said, why are you rewarding people for me being wrong? That was one of the things that got me at the time, but it certainly was a tremendous, I'll use the word gimmick, but it was great. It was just absolutely great. And of course, along the way, colleagues became acquaintances, and acquaintances became friends, and friends became work besties. And of course, now, to you, the listeners, because if you're not serving the ones who are looking up to you for the information, they're going to go elsewhere. And sadly, in the end, you're going to have to now. The thousands of notes that we have all received, thousands and thousands on social media for all of us, it stinks. But, my bosses sat me down. They talked to me. It quells the upset feeling that you have when you realize that things are going to change like this. So, from 5 a.m., April 27th, 1981 to what will be August 23rd at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow evening, to everyone whom I have helped get through their day weather-wise, stepping out in the morning to coming home at night. I hope my forecast was accurate more times than not. And I thank you for allowing me to wake up with you with in the morning, have breakfast or a cup of coffee. The AM radio was on the kitchen counter. Maybe I was riding in the car with you, and perhaps I even went to bed with you as you set the clock radio for another day. But I'm wishing all of you love, good health, best wishes. I'm still going to be on CBS 2. I'll keep my social media pages as well, because I am not giving up weather. But there is one thing for all of us AM lovers of AM, Wayne, Paul. Heaven forbid there's another emergency, a catastrophe, a tragedy. You're going to have to go to other sources. And as much as I love the digital age, I really have embraced it, but I highly doubt your phone is going to get you all the details that you want. So I hope that none of you out there ever forget the significance of what's being called a dinosaur, the AM radio, and how much a part of your lives WCBS 880 has become in keeping you safe and informed. Me, Tom, Wayne, Paul, Steve, Michael, and the names just go on and on and on and on. And that's my piece. I'm sure you're not going to forget us, but just know, I hope that we served you well.
Marla Diamond, the things I will never forget. Walking into the WCBS newsroom in Black Rock in 1997 thinking I didn't belong there. But they handed me a microphone and said, find news, and I did. The second most intimidating day was sitting in the 880 anchor chair. In between, there was being there to witness the horror of 9/11 and the miracle on the Hudson. I've been a witness to New York City history. Thank you, WCBS, for 27 amazing years.
Bless your heart, Marla Diamond. Gonna miss you.
Jim Harriet on WCBS News Radio 88. Mobility gives News Radio 88 a big edge.
Dave Flanders and WCBS News Radio 88 Mobile Unit Number 1. Proceeding north on Henry Hudson Parkway, this is Jack Kavanaugh and WCBS News Radio 88 Mobile Unit Number 2. We're in Journal Square, Jersey City, where right now...
This is Dick Gilbert in Helicopter Number 1.
Rio Push, Helicopter Number 2. Tool Cutting, reporting from Bridgeport. We're a major industrial city. This is John Anthony reporting to WCBS News Radio 88 from Roosevelt Field, Long Island.
Mobility and flexibility. Those two words best express why WCBS News Radio 88 is like nothing you've ever heard before. 5:30 a.m. to 8:10 p.m., Monday through Friday, right here.
More than just the headlines, WCBS News 88.
That previous promo was what they call a dry track that didn't have anything under it. And I think when I hit the file to play it there, I got a whiff of cigarette smoke under my nostril. I think it just works that way.
Well, when we first came to this newsroom, indoor smoking was a thing in offices in New York City.
Yeah.
And every so often, I can recall, I won't mention any names, but their little cigarette would fall into the trash can with all the papers in it, and there'd be small fires to be put out.
It's amazing we lived.
You'd come home, your fingers would smell like nicotine. I don't miss those days, I'll tell you what. By the way, the nicotine fingers were from somebody else's ciggy being on the console, and you put your hand down, you go to scratch your nose, and you want to pass out. Memories.
Yeah.
Warm memories.
I'm looking around here. It's nice. I think for years now we haven't seen a cigarette burn on the end of the furniture here.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Sophia Hall. I just want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their busy schedules to make us a part of your day for all these years. I met two of my good friends after interviewing them for stories. You never know who you're going to meet that day, connect with. I will especially miss the family of WCBS. You get to know not only your coworkers, but find out about their children or if they buy a house. I have a passion for my job, and that's what we all have had at the station, a passion for news and helping others.
Glenn Hutton of WCBS News Radio 880. Words that I have always been honored to say. There is power, prestige, poise, and passion behind our brand. From those that run our day-to-day operations to those of us in sales, we represented a brand that focused on quality programming and content and serviced the tri-state area faithfully through sharing both the good stories and the difficult ones. Thank you all for your dedication and contribution to the 880 legacy. We are and will always be News Radio.
Keisha, we've loved having you around. Thank you for all your work over the years, keeping WCBS the premier buy for advertisers, clients all across, upscale.
For the upscale New York market.
Yes, we have that snob appeal. Can you feel it?
Well, that's one of the things that's true. I mean, when you would hit 880 tuning, when people used to tune radios, there was this sophisticated, classy, important sound.
It was airlines, it was banks, Broadway shows. You know, it was a heady time in New York for a very long time. Obviously, the advertising market has changed with digital.
Right.
But, wow, what a run it's been.
But how brave are the sales account executives going into ad buying, agencies, going into agencies, going up to businesses? They had doors that were slammed in their face, I'm sure. And the people that put together the commercials behind the scenes.
Let me just jump in before you get to that, because because it's along the lines of what you're saying. We had a call from somebody who was an account executive for the CBS radio network. This is Barbara Sulkoff, just called in minutes ago to our newsroom. She was an account executive for CBS radio in the 80s, grew up listening because, and how many times have you heard this? Her dad had a transistor radio in the bathroom or in the back of the car. We heard the radio station, and it became part of our consciousness, really.
And how about the people that put the commercials together, the people who assembled it? Bill Tynan here at WCBS is a name we want to mention today, but there have been so many over the years, and the people at the agencies too. And sometimes if you turned on the radio and it was an ad, well, you'd hear just a moment of magic.
Stiller and Mira.
Excuse me, miss, but you seem to be having trouble picking out a wine. Maybe I can help you.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I never talk to strangers.
Oh, how did you know?
What do you mean, how did I know? You're a stranger.
Right, Elliot Stranger.
Is that really your name?
No, it's really Elliot Sverdlik, but I do meet a lot of pretty girls this way.
I like you, Elliot. You're weird, but I like you. Maybe you can help. See, I'm having some friends over for smorgasbord, some shrimps, a little cheese, some meatballs. What kind of wine can you serve with all those things?
May I suggest you have a little Blue Nun at your smorgasbord?
Oh, I don't think she'd have a very good time. Besides, it's going to be all couples.
Oh, no. Blue Nun wine. It's a delicious white wine that's correct with any dish. Meat, fish, cheese, meatballs.
Oh, Blue Nun. Oh, Elliot, you made me a convert.
I suppose you're going to drink it religiously.
Yeah, it's going to become a real habit.
Blue Nun, the delicious white wine that's correct with any dish. Another Seychelles wine imported by Caplan and Company, New York.
I could go for a little of that right now, right?
I was just going to say, I mean, the hours we keep, it's about Miller time, I think.
Although I think the last day at work is a red wine event.
It's 8:18. I'm going to go stone cold sober today so I can enjoy every moment of it. Here's Tom Kaminsky.
Let's go back on over to the southern state, eastbound side, getting out toward that stretch at 110.
It's 8:23 at WCBS. And, Paul, I would like to point out that to all those very nice people who are giving us accolades and telling us how important that we are to them and how meaningful that is, not everyone agrees.
No?
Not everyone agrees.
Are we going to truck out the voicemail?
I want to... yes, exactly right. You knew exactly where I was going with this.
Yeah.
This was when we used to have... maybe we still do. I don't know. Nobody uses the phone anymore. But
somewhere there's a voicemail in the CBS system that says, this mailbox is full.
Well, before it filled up, here's what somebody said about me. I don't know. This is probably 15, 20 years ago.
Next message.
This is a former listener in Manhattan. We are so sick of Wayne Cabot. Every other ad, every other... Wayne Cabot. You must have an in with somebody at the top of CBS, but you're losing listeners because we're so goddamn sick of it. Wayne Cabot. Enough already.
End of message.
Oh, I'm glad you got the end of message on there too, along with that wonderful little addition in the middle of it.
Sir, you got your wish.
It finally happened. That
was epic. I love that.
One of the things I've loved about working in New York City is coming into Manhattan and enjoying a wonderful bagel. Thank you, Bud Mishkin, who brought us bagels from, by the way, Zabar's. And I would like to point out that this often happens where the two anchors are eating and they have a mouthful of food and the commercial ends and they look at each other. One of my wonderful memories is a certain anchor here spitting out the wad of bagel into the palm of his hand and then reading the headlines.
Well, that certain anchor will be on with us at 10:15 this morning.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking
those
about.
Kind of
I won't
memories,
give it away.
It's one of those moments that kind of sticks with you for sure.
And if you're going to mention Zabar's and Barney Greengrass, you're going to get an angry note from our friends over at Hobby's Deli in Newark because they want us to be exclusive with them. And we'll see Michael and Mark very shortly over there.
Yeah, all right, no doubt. And number 5, is that what we're going for?
That's what I'm going to get. Wanted to thank Craig Allen, specifically Neil Bush and Jeff Caplan, who he says made an immigrant's life so much easier back in the early 90s when he first moved here. Jeff Caplan will be joining us during the 10 o'clock hour, and Craig Allen will be here all throughout the morning, and Tom Kaminsky is here right now.
And Wayne, I just wanted to mention, I'm glad that you mentioned Why Hunger, because you and I, obviously, for the past quite a few years, were the auctioneers for our annual Hungerthon. And it was such a great thing to not only meet so many people, but especially to become good friends with Bill Ayers and Tom Chapin and so many of our friends, Marcia Garlick and Sue Leventhal. I know you're both listening right now. We appreciate that. Our friend Joe Durso, who also runs the Light of Day Foundation, that's one of the most important things that we have done at this radio station, and that's, I had always said that if I had ever gotten to a stage in my career where my name had some sort of influence, I would want to use it to give back, because I've been truly blessed in my life, and I'm grateful that we've been able to do that for Why Hunger and for the Light of Day Foundation, and also for Special Olympics New Jersey, the Lincoln Tunnel Challenge every year that we've done that.
Does that mean that you're going to bid $88 for my lanyard, Tom?
I'm going to bid $88.81. How about that?
I like that. Thank you.
And I'll do the old Price is Right $88.82 thing.
I'll trade you that from one of my old New York Giants lanyards. Maybe we'll come up with a swap somewhere. But in any case, yes, thank you all for always supporting Why Hunger. Please support them. Please support the Light of Day Foundation and Special Olympics New Jersey. They need your help more than ever. They really do. I'm Tom Kaminsky in the WCBS Traffic Center.
Tom, thanks. Sun's mixing with some clouds, but I haven't seen any. It really looks like a cloudless sky. Blue sky over the city. 61. We're heading for a high near 75.
There's one dark cloud right there, Paul.
Oh, and some buzzards circling over the building.
It's it's coming around. It's just kidding. It's actually a very upbeat day here. Strangely, you'd think that it wouldn't be, but with all the family that is our employees and all the people coming around, and we're getting a lift for the time being. We know we're going away.
We had no idea, really, and we're hearing from people, and we're grateful to be here in this place.
And grateful, and I'll say it again, and I know it sounds like sucking up, but I am so grateful for our management for allowing us to have this goodbye, because in radio, that just doesn't happen in radio very often.
We appreciate the trust so much.
59 degrees heading for 75 today. Clear tonight. It'll be in the 60s in the city, 50s in the suburbs.
And then Friday is mainly sunny and turning warmer with a high of 75 to 80. And one of the things I'm going to miss is when we start something and go off on the rails and forget where we are and come back to it. But there's an art to that.
Oh, there sure is. And as long as we're talking weather.
Hello, as I've said tens of thousands of times here on 880, I'm meteorologist Todd Glickman in the WCBS Weather Center. It has been an honor and privilege to bring you the weather for the past 45 years. I hope that in some small way we've helped you understand how the weather affects your everyday lives. And from the small business breakfast to the New York Marathon in Central Park, we've also had some fun along the way. Huge thanks to our WCBS family, both off and on air, for their friendship and support, and especially to Craig Allen, who's been a personal friend and professional colleague for more than 4 decades.
Todd, thank you, and hello to the Met fans out there, because right now it's your chance to win some tickets. The Mets Turning Point of the Game contest, if you're the 88th caller at 877-987-WCBS and can correctly identify the turning point of the game, you win a pair of tickets to see an upcoming Citi Field home game.
So call that number before they pull it out of the wall. 877-987-WCBS. The Mets Turning Point of the Game is sponsored by Riverhead Building Supply.
Today at 10 a.m., join us for a special audio journey. WCBS 880 News. The people, the moments, the events that shaped our lives. Wayne Cabot, Paul Murnane, and Bridget Quinn host a 3-hour special with interviews, conversations, and the memorable stories that defined us. Today at 10 a.m. on WCBS 880 News.
WCBS New York. WCBS New York.
It means so much, and we are overwhelmed, and we had no idea, really, the impact that we had. You know, we're working guys. You know, we come here in the morning. It's like we almost expect a punch clock when we come in to do this, and the impact that we've had on our listeners is mind blowing to hear about. Such people as Barbara in Forest Hills, listening since the beginning of WCBS, worked at the World Trade Center, was supposed to go there on 9/11 but wasn't, and then listened to our coverage of that day. Devastated and love you guys, she says to WCBS. And Barbara, thank you. We appreciate it so much, more than you know.
Pat from Syosset just now checking in. The Christmas before Hurricane Sandy, she gave everyone crank radios because during Sandy we kept her connected and they felt secure. So, crank radios for everybody. I don't know how easily a crank radio fits in a stocking, but it beats a lump of coal. So thank you from Pat from Syosset, who, by the way, said she's going to start crying, and I think you're not alone, Pat.
Yeah, that's for sure. And crank radios from a couple of radio cranks here every morning, waking up at 2. I'm not going to miss that alarm. Do you know when I got up this morning, the first thing I made sure I did is I shut off the alarm.
I did the same thing.
Did you do the same thing?
I made, because otherwise it would go off tomorrow. We'd be so mad if we forgot. We didn't do the typical radio morning guy thing of getting a sledgehammer and smashing an alarm clock.
The day is young.
Because now it would mean smashing your iPhone, and nobody wants to pay for that.
Right. Wayne, you mentioned listening to the radio station when you were going to your first radio job. I've been hearing from people as far away as Vermont in the radio business who say they listen to WCBS and that big, loud, strong signal as they're going to their radio jobs.
Vermont is like a local area it's like metro area for this signal. It's unbelievable.
I worked in Boston. I used to finish my shift and I'd go down and get in the car and hit the 880 button, and there we were.
I mean, is a New York station, and had to reach all the way up and down the East Coast, and at night, halfway across the country, whether it was 10 miles away or 1,000 miles away, this has been a beacon for everyone for so many years, and we are so proud and privileged to have been a part of it.
Remind me to tell you the story about a guy who said he was a medical student in Grenada in 1983, and they listened to the station to find out what was going on with the invasion of Grenada 41 years ago. Amazing.
Wait, you went to a doctor who got his degree from Grenada?
No. It was just a listener who was like that. I was
going to say, we got some good hospitals here in New York, Paul. That's 8:52 at WCBS. I'm not sure if we all remember what radio station this is, so I'm going to bring in the late, great Bob Glenn for the Legal ID one more time.
13 minutes before 7 o'clock on WCBS News Radio 88, your station for news and information in New York, New Jersey, and Kentucky.
I just love that. Listen, we've all had our moments, haven't we?
Oh, not me, Paul. It's been a flawless 36 years here for me.
Look at your gold-tinged resume. My gosh.
But it's nice that you and I, to honor the guys who were here when we first got here, I would say the women too, but I'm talking about how we're dressing. Yeah. And we're not wearing dresses, but we are wearing suits and ties in honor of the old-timers who did. It was the Mad Men era. And we were so proud to be walking in this radio station door.
8:55, CBiz Mark's Paneth Business Desk as we head for another day of trading. And at Bloomberg this morning, come on in, Karen Moscow.
All right. Well, Paul and Wayne, applications for U.S. unemployment benefits barely rose last week, indicating the labor market is moderating only gradually. Initial claims increased by 4,000 to 232,000 in the week that ended August 17th. BMW outselling Tesla on electric vehicles in the European Union for the first time last month as the German carmaker managed to increase shipments in an otherwise weakening market for battery-powered cars. And Walmart Plus subscription members getting a new edible perk, the retailer teaming up with Burger King, offering 25% off the fast food giant's digital orders. Futures, they are higher this morning, and I hope you both know what an honor it was for me. I know it's only been a few months that I've been with you, but it was a true honor for me to share the airwaves with you. So thank you so much for accepting me here in the morning. It's been a pleasure.
You are so welcome, and we're so glad we could have you here and are part of our team.
He said with half a bagel in his mouth.
In the grand radio tradition, I'm sitting here gnashing on a bagel. I blame Bud Mishkin for bringing in the bagels into the newsroom.
I was just giving a listen here to things you can't say on the radio anymore. It was 1978. Dr. Bob Harris, who it turns out wasn't a doctor, but that's a whole different story, was on the air, and it's a very innocent reference back at the time, but you couldn't say it today, but I think you'll forgive me if I play it now, just to remind us of how we've evolved. Here we go.
Between 59 and 64, and Friday, hazy sunshine, a bit of Indian summer again. Temperatures in the upper 60s on Friday. Right now, clear, 53 degrees at WCBS.
Okay, time to call the airline, so they can put me on hold. Maybe play me a little tune. Hey, what am I going to do with all the time they're saving me? I mean, this is New York. I'm not supposed to have all this time.
You don't. It's 7:07.
Jim Donnelly was close with that time check. It's actually almost about 9:01.
Everything you need to know every time you listen. This is WCBS 880 News.
I must tell the listeners, I said, what are we going to do here? And you looked at me and you said, and I quote, whatever pops into our big empty heads.
No, I said giant empty heads.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't even quote you right.
Come on, quote me right, Paul.
Okay, all right. Giant empty heads. What a giant blue sky out there this morning, at the high of near 75 and 63 degrees here in Manhattan at 9:03 on this Thursday morning.
You know, as long as you're going down this road, you mentioned the big empty heads. I think Howard Stern used to always make fun of radio guys with big voices. He'd call them empty-headed big voice guys.
Right.
And he also was a huge fan of this radio station. I remember when Lou Adler passed a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Howard took a lot of time to talk about the importance that Lou Adler had on his life when he was the kid in the back seat, when he had Lou Adler on the radio, and when his dad would say, "Shut up! Lou Adler is on the radio. Lou Adler is on. Shut up!"
I was assigned to 2 assignments involving Howard Stern when he got the Saturday night show on CBS. And years earlier than that, he did something with Governor Pataki, and he joked that he wanted him to take the prisoners, the condemned prisoners, and use them to fill potholes.
I do recall that campaign pledge, yes.
And Robin Quivers came over very nicely and saw the CBS mic, and she said, I listen to you guys every morning.
And I remember during the O.J. trial when Irene Cornell was all over every detail and development. Howard came up to somebody, maybe it was you, I forget, came up to one of our reporters and said he listens to Irene religiously and then has some fun with it later on the radio.
It's 9:05 at WCBS, 63-degree morning, as we said, 75 the high this afternoon, and kind of a back-to-school feel to things this morning.
Thursday morning and 63, heading for 75 this afternoon. Sun and clouds mixing. Good morning, I'm Wayne Cabot.
Good morning, I'm Paul Murnane, and here's another name. Dave Plotkin works here at Odyssey, New York, and he has helped assemble our WCBS through the years retrospective of the near 100-year history of the radio station that became WCBS. We went in yesterday and we had a chance to do some, as they say, some voice tracks for things, for this history going back through the 40s and the 30s. We have some audio from the 1920s, amazingly. Saturday morning at 8 o'clock is when it's going to be first broadcast. We're going to try and run it as many times as we can before we say goodbye. Well, did that not blow your mind?
Well, the fact that there's audio that exists of, for example, Babe Ruth that apparently hasn't been heard since Babe Ruth uttered those words.
Yeah, how about we give a little listen to what's coming up here on WCBS as we say WCBS through the years.
My friends, for instance, in Philadelphia thought I was crazy. They thought this radio was a sort of a passing fancy.
This is Arthur Godfrey, come among you once again. 15 minutes with Bing Crosby.
The bell, and they enter the center of the ring. Sharky with his hands well up. Joe slouching in as usual. Sharky tries with the left, and they trade left.
To Amelia Earhart, the first woman to make a solo flight of the Atlantic, we tonight accord the honor of the Columbia Medal for distinguished contribution to radio art.
Columbia presents for your pleasure Benny Miroff and his orchestra coming to you from the summer terrace of the Hotel New Yorker in New York City.
The scene for the groundbreaking ceremonies of the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel.
Babe Ruth has hit another home run. Keep tuned to your Columbia station.
That was William S. Paley there from a 1977 interview about, I think I'll try this radio thing. And when I hear that clip, I'm imagining that voice coming down a phone line to you.
Well, he was
ordering you to get going.
When we got here, he was well remembered. People still referred to him in the building as Mr. Paley.
Yeah.
He was always Mr. Paley. And he had a hotline to the radio station. This was his baby. The all-news format was his baby. He wanted to go against Westinghouse, which had debuted Wins in 1965. 1965. His executives fought him on it for 2 years, and the main executive who fought him eventually got fired, and that began the birth. That was the birth of WCBS Newsradio in August of 1967.
We're so happy to hear your comments this morning. Rachel from Brooklyn, the soundtrack to my life you were. My parents always had the radio. When her son, who's now 33, was a baby, he said, "Mommy, 880 Chris Jet." That's a
I love
good
that.
little
Chris
reference.
Majet.
Chris Majet.
Yep.
Another. We want to make sure we mention all the names. Very balanced view of the war in Israel. She tells us she can't imagine the morning without you. Thank you, Rachel in Brooklyn.
You really want to mention all the names? I would love to, but if we do that, Paul, and I'm not even kidding, we would have to stay on the air probably a week into the ESPN takeover. But alas, we are so grateful for the literally thousands, not just emails, not just social media, snail mail letters, and the phone is ringing off the hook in the newsroom. When was the last time any phone was ringing off any hook?
Good morning out there. 63 in the city, and we're heading for sun mixing with some clouds. I haven't seen any yet, with a high near 75.
Yeah, just a couple of wispy ones out there, Paul, you know.
Little wispy
little
clouds?
wisps out
All
there.
right.
Little cumulus. Cirrocumulus. I'm trying to impress Craig Allen while he's driving over here for our soiree at 10 o'clock.
Are you trying to try out for another job as a weatherman?
That's how I wanted to get into this business. I wanted to be a weatherman. Right. I listened all the time to hear the forecast, and then just grew accustomed to the radio station, and it sounds like that ticker in the background and the sounders and jingles and...
To think you would have been Storm Cabot.
They called me AccuWayne, actually.
Clear tonight, 60 to 65.
Oh, that's right. We're still doing the weather, aren't
Tomorrow
we?
is sunny and warmer, 75 to 80, he said, moving things along.
Yeah, I wouldn't have made it as a weatherman, clearly. And the weekend's going to be nice, both Saturday and Sunday. Sunny days and temperatures into the 80s.
One of the things the listeners have been telling us is that they love how we ramble when we start something and we acknowledge our mistakes. On a lighter note, I want to thank my wonderful friend in Philadelphia from Cheshire High School back in the day, Wendell Evans, texted me, "Canceled my doctor's appointment so I can listen. Actually was looking for an excuse to do that, so thanks for getting fired." I
You're
wrote
welcome.
back, "I'm honored."
And Rivka out there answering the phones. I told you the phone was ringing off the hook. Somebody called in to say, "Bring the ticker back." Well, sir or madam, for as long as we can, here you go. Oh, Maggie. Can we hear from Maggie here?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Maggie Leone, WC. Oh, I think she says her name.
My name is Maggie Leone. I'm a desk assistant and producer. I'm so grateful for my time at WCBS, for the experience, the people, and the memories. In the words of so many listeners we've been hearing from this week, thank you for being a part of my life. Having the chance to not only work alongside, but learn from legends in the business has been an honor. Thank you all for such an unforgettable and enriching experience.
She was talking about me,
And a special thank you to Ray Martell. I'm so glad that you took a second look at my resume.
Oh, yes, clearly.
I was a legend to whom she was referring.
It's all about Wayne,
yes,
isn't it?
Yeah. Hey, Ray Martell, I'm glad she mentioned Ray.
Yeah.
He's one of the unsung heroes here who knows where everything is, how to fix everything, how to patch everything together, who has worked about 29 hours in a day. I don't even know how that's possible. So, Ray, we're going to miss you, buddy.
In addition to, as I mentioned, Dave Plotkin for his exhaustive work in putting everything together, I think a hat tip to you as kind of the kid, the heart and soul of the place, really. And not just because you've been here for 36 years and you're the longest tenured anchor. Your loving care of the WCBS archives, which you took on, and so much of the material we have from this radio station was lost years ago because of one of those corporate decisions, as we've been saying. So, listen, thanks for your collection, which you have been playing for me nonstop in the mornings as I've worked with you for 8 years now.
It has been just a gift and a joy, Paul, and to work with you for the last 9 years?
8 years.
Seems like about 90.
Seems like 99.
Has been just an unbelievable joy, because you and I are cut from the same cloth.
Right.
It's a cheesecloth, as a matter of fact.
Can I mention that I think I replaced you at 1010 Wins when you left Wins and came over here to WCBS?
You did. They needed a tall guy, so they brought you in.
Bring in some other guy who's going to dust the lights.
Listen, how are the tires in your car? Because we have one more trade deal for you, Paul.
Peloton may finally...
Those great setups, and you hit the wrong damn button.
That never happens.
No. Paul and I are recounting the one fight we had in all of our years together, and you forgot about it, and now you're mad at me all over again. I shouldn't have brought it up.
Well, I played a song, and you thought the song was too old, and you said you're complaining about it. I said, well, we're the same name biologically. And
same
you said,
age, yeah.
And you said, same age biologically.
Yeah. I thought that was fun. I said, Paul, it's good radio. You're like, it's not good radio when you're making fun of me.
Listen, how many people have worked in this place through gritted teeth at one another? And you and I have this, I think, a good-natured relationship, you know?
It's been great, Paul. I mean, sincerely, I'll be calling you at home at 5 o'clock in the morning to hear what the hell's going on.
We have such parallel lives of things that happen. I mentioned, and you kind of, the same thing happened to me, so I'm going to miss the camaraderie, Wayne.
Yeah, and one of those anchors who did not have a whole lot of camaraderie with his co-anchor will be joining us in about a half an hour. I'm not going to drop any names, but I'll leave it at that. Legendary egos, because they were legendary talents. Although I'll say the guy we're going to have on kept his ego in check. The other guy, not so much.
Listen.
How's that for a tease, huh?
We have big egos, but we deserve it.
Yes, we do. It's 9:26 WCBS. 9:28 on the 8s. Traffic and weather together on WCBS, and here comes Tom Kaminsky.
You know, Wayne, I just heard from our mutual friend Bob Williams, who, you know, we've all crossed paths at one point. He tells me that he has an air check of you doing a weather forecast on a radio station in Plainfield, New Jersey.
Oh, wow, that goes back.
In the early 80s. I noticed you didn't dig that one out of the archives.
1590 WERA.
Exactly correct. And Bob sends his best to everybody.
A station that almost fell off the dial. It was so high up there.
Up there with the police calls.
It's also where Pat Parson got his start, WERA.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of folks got their start at WERA. Absolutely.
Hi, it's Catherine Chaffee. The station has been a major part of my life. I cut my teeth in that newsroom. It's been a long time since I was on the air, but the station has remained a constant pillar for me, a place that embodies the highest level of journalistic integrity. A special thank you to Tim Sheld and Chris Quimby for hiring me, and to Paul, Wayne, Steve, Marla, Peter, Sean, and the late French Schneido for teaching me how to report and write, but also for teaching me about humanity. Lisa Chankovich, thank you for being a great friend and the best producer. I'm really going to miss hearing your voices every day.
She mentioned Chris Quimby. I had a Chris Quimby dream, Paul.
You were telling me this, and you put it, on your phone? You wrote it down on your phone?
I wrote it down. I guess I might as well tell the story now.
We have time now. Sure.
Let's see, do I have it handy here?
Welcome to the Freud part of the show.
Yeah, honestly, I had this. You know what? I got to find it. I'm actually not prepared, and that's my own fault for bringing it up and not being prepared to talk about it. But it's the end of WCBS, as we know. Sunday night is when we hand it over to ESPN. But I think I had a premonition, and this was back a year ago. It was a year ago.
You were on vacation or something, or no?
I don't know. It was June of 2023.
Well, you look for that. I want to say.
I got it here. Hold on.
You have it here.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Okay. All right. Again, we're treading water. We never do that.
It's just weird, and I had to bring this up because I wrote this down. Here's my dream. And Chris Quimby was our manager at the time, even though what I'm describing here, BlackRock, predates her. It doesn't really matter because it's a dream. Mm-hmm. It's 4 a.m. at WCBS, and we're preparing the morning newscast. The scene is BlackRock. The overnight anchor is toiling away. The newsroom is unusually busy with faces we don't know. Chris Quimby is there looking sullen. The systems aren't working. Suddenly, I hear a collective groan as 4 men at each big 16th floor newsroom window pull black curtains across the glass. I look to the studio, the lights are turned out, and the board is dark. WCBS is no more. I stand there in shock. Martin Untroib, sees my face, walks over and hugs me. My first impulse is to quietly smile. Yes, severance! Then I think of all the people losing jobs. Then the emotion hits me. I hold back tears as I look at the spot where the teletype machines were years ago, and I think of my first time there in 1978 when Dad drove me in for a tour.
Yeah.
I tell Martin the story about how Ben Farnsworth was in the studio that morning subbing for Jim Donnelly. This part is true. This really happened. The memories of that visit with Dad, those years in that same spot, the thread that has been woven through my life, makes me realize how much a part of me this has been. Sad only scratches the surface. But grateful, too, Paul. Exceedingly grateful. Not only to have worked with you.
Thank you.
And all the people here at WCBS and the amazing listeners, but to have the opportunity to sit here with you right now and talk about it and have a farewell, which is not something that very often happens in this business.
As I said earlier, I don't think we would be doing this without your work and the archives that you have kept for WCBS. Some of them hilarious, like the 14-year-old when they mentioned the snowing in New Jersey, the report that you had called in, and you recorded it, and you're yelling in the background, I got it on tape.
I was so proud.
I think this many people who have worked here have the memory of hearing WCBS as a child. And the memory that I have was that the station sounded important.
Yes.
More than any other station on the dial.
WOR sounded official but stuffy.
Well,
this station was important but friendly.
You can sound official and you can sound important. And WCBS, I think, chose the right way.
And this is weird, Paul, just as I was reading this to you from my phone, and I mentioned the name Ben Farnsworth, guess who just popped up in a voicemail?
Wow.
Ben Farnsworth. Yeah. So I can tell Oliver, the booker out there, and Lisa T, yes, we've got Ben. He's going to be on the air in just about 20 minutes.
Which will be amazing to hear because he was so smooth. And
I stole everything from him and from Pat and Jim. And we all are thieves of the people who came before us, and we are the better for it.
Thank you so much. It's 9:45 here at WCBS. We heard from Bruce, who's in Philadelphia. I love Wayne and Paul. It's a legend that's going down. Thank you for all these great years of listening. Wayne, remember that you used to work in Philly, and you had the same experience. I worked in Boston. You worked in Philadelphia, where you could finish your job at one of those radio stations and get in your car and hit the 880 button, and it would come in loud and clear.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Even in Philadelphia, I listened to 880 all the time, as did a lot of people. We had a lot of WCBS listeners in Philadelphia. And during my time in Philly, I worked at WFIL, which is a legendary top 40 station. That was their version of the old 77 WABC. Mm-hmm. And WFIL had brought back oldies, and I was a news guy. Jeff Caplan hired me. He was the morning news guy. I was the afternoon news guy. And Jay Myers, I want to thank him. He was my program director who sent me a note, and I haven't gotten back to him yet, nor have I gotten back to about 1,000 notes, but I will. And Jay said, I did the best thing ever for you. I let you be a boss jock. And I did. For a day, he let me be a boss jock playing the jingles with the reverb. Every radio geek like us can identify with the thrill of that.
Can I tell you something? That is the approach I think you brought to this, and I think that's why so many people remember you from this radio station when they say, WCBS. Oh, Wayne Cabot. And I sincerely mean that. We've heard that from so many comments. And I think that your approach and maybe what you learned back then, maybe it's just our, baby boomer, Gen X thing going on that we grew up with it. But you brought it here, and I think I didn't bring
it here. No, it was already here. It was already here. Jim Donnelly said that he's a disc jockey, but instead of playing records, the stories were the songs, really. Yeah. And he would pivot between the songs, as he did beautifully. And I think we all kind of, through osmosis, picked up on that. And that is why the legend of this radio station endured for 57 years as an all-news station and 100 years as a radio station.
8 o'clock on Saturday morning, WCBS Through the Years, we put together this special that is going to run. In addition to the show, we're going to start at 10 o'clock over the weekend. Saturday morning at 8 a.m. will be its first airing. We have put together, with the work of Dave Plotkin here at Odyssey, New York, the sound of this radio station, which is 100 years old next month. It will celebrate 100 years as the new home of ESPN. And some of the audio that we have goes back to the 1920s. It's at least one. I don't want to overpromise. I think at least one piece of audio goes back to the 1920s.
Do you want to know what smells like it's 100 years old?
What's that?
The banana I have in my bag, which is going bad. And I think when people come in to visit us, our studio guests, in about 15 minutes, they're going to say, "What is wrong with you people?"
Some people miss the sound. I don't think we're going to miss the smell of the place.
9:48, traffic and weather together. Tom Kaminsky.
We have had so many people, so many listeners say how much they are going to miss us. I need to mention one listener, my friend Gretchen O'Shea. Gretchen is a first-grade teacher here in my town of Cranford at Brookside Place School. Gretchen, her husband Sean, diehard Mets fan. They are relentless listeners to WCBS. And Gretchen actually sent me a little thing. She listens mostly on the app. Last year, in 2023, she had a total of 14,463 minutes. So it says you are in the top 1% of the station's listeners. And she subjected even their kids to it as well over the years. So, Gretchen, everybody that has been listening over the years, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We appreciate it.
You hear this? This is paper. Remember I told you I wanted to say my goodbye, and Sunday I was on the couch and feeling a little sorry for myself, and I said, I thought it. And I went into my computer in the bedroom, sat down there and banged out the script. I have it on paper in front of me because I was wondering about how I get through it to say my goodbye.
All right. Well, Paul, I am really interested in hearing what you have to say.
I hinted at a little bit of it earlier, that I'm here because of Art Athens and Lou Adler and Rob Sunday. I had a chance to work with all of those men. Art Athens was away from WCBS for a while. And
Who did you work with on Monday? You worked with Rob on Sunday. I'm sorry. I'll be quiet now.
You can't resist.
I'll be quiet now.
So Art Athens needed a student intern. I came in. Almost immediately, he gave me a job. He hired me to work in the overnight shift in the newsroom. And then later, when I was a freelancer at 1010 Wins, Lou Adler and Rob Sunday were there. And I run into Tim Sheldon, a story. He says, hey, I'm going over to ABC. You should apply. And so Lou Adler, I remember saying specifically, you want me to make a call? Oh, yeah. Yeah, ABC. And I remember he said, do you want me to make a call? I said, sure. And so I sent my tape and resume, as I remember, on a Monday, had a meeting on maybe a Thursday, and Friday morning I got the call, would you like to come to work for WCBS? So that was, as I said, 29 years and 8 months and 22 days and 9 minutes and 53 minutes and 39 seconds ago.
Yeah, the accountants are counting too, Paul.
My coworkers and I have been so overwhelmed with your kind regards. From our WCBS listeners, we all agree the hard part will be breaking the habit of punching the 880 news button. It's sad, it's a shame. We carry wonderful memories. I don't have a great answer to the question we're hearing. Well, where's the news going? What do you mean? Where is that? I don't know. The format is gone, and the world is changing so fast. At the end, all I can say is thank you and goodbye. And that's it from me.
Paul, thank you. You are a gem. I love you. We're going to stay friends long after this thing wraps up. And now you're getting me all misty-eyed over here.
See, I finally did it. It took 8 years of working with you to get a little smoky eye over there.
Yeah, up until now, it was just your breath. Working behind the scenes in our newsroom this morning, desk assistant Sabrina Salovitz.
Our writer is Chris Rausch.
Rivka Oppenheim at the WCBS producer's desk. Okay, one more big finish.
Time for us, CBiz Marks Paneth business desk anyway, as we go to Bloomberg's Tracy Jonke.
Paul and Wayne, I just want to say, the listeners know this by now, but I'll say it anyway. What you hear every day from Paul and Wayne and the rest of the WCBS team is real, unbelievably talented people who take great pride in their work and take seriously the great responsibility of telling people's stories. And I'm going to miss listening to you tell these stories every day. This is a philosophy really that makes 880 so great. This realness. When I started doing money news for WCBS, Tim Sheld said something that no one has ever said to me before. We want you to be you. What I really wanted to be was Joe Connolly. For me, he set the standard for telling business stories in a relatable way, but Tim gave me permission to be myself. So here's a money story to wrap things up. The Dow
and I'm glad you took his advice. I'm glad you took his advice because we've loved having you on, Tracy.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, and again, Joe Connolly is the greatest. You guys are the greatest.
Now, what about the damn Dow?
Oh, it's up. It's up. It's okay. If you have retirement funds, they're still there. 33 points.
It really matters to us, as you might imagine.
It does. NASDAQ's up 83. That's great. The S&P is up 18, the closest to its July record since it set that record.
And look who just walked in. You mentioned Joe Connolly. Look who just walked in the door.
Here's magic. Here's a familiar voice on the radio. Hi, Joe.
Hey, did you hear what Tracy was saying about you?
No.
That she wanted to be just like you and sound just like you.
Oh, nice.
When I grow up.
Nice. When she grows up.
Joe doesn't have headphones on, so we can say whatever we want about him. Hey, Joe, as long as you're here, you are remembered by everyone.
That's nice.
And I can't tell you how many people have mentioned specifically the business breakfasts over the year. Right. We used to have 1,000 people more or more at those places.
And people continue to ask me about the business breakfast. It happened yesterday. And do we have a couple of minutes right now?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
For you, anything.
I was just walking in to say hi. I was going to say that, what's happening here at WCBS is the result of macroeconomics in the changes in the economy of the news industry. But the growth of these new platforms shows that there is still demand. And, just briefly, some people have asked. I started listening to WCBS in college, and I've been listening ever since, right up until this morning. And I came here when I was working at WDRC Radio in Hartford, Connecticut, and I would come down and cover news on the street in the city on the weekends. And then I became the business reporter, which I loved because sometimes you can give people information that is useful and helpful to them. And Barry Berman and Dick Colt from the Connecticut Radio Network invented the small business reports, and they wanted them only on WCBS. They put them here. From that, Harvey Nagler went on to create the WCBS Business Breakfast, because we now had the small business reports. And Tim Sheld kept them going for years, and he was my mentor in getting me focused on what people wanted to hear about. And people still ask about the business breakfast, and the media seems to be evolving. I'm still doing business breakfast, but now I'm doing them for companies.
Hey, Joe, I want you to tell us more about. You're going to stick around for a few hours?
Yes.
Okay, because we're going to get to our show in just a moment, but we need to go to format.
Yes.
And do the CBS News at the top of the hour.
Do we really? What are they going to do?
We do. But let's do it this way, Paul and Joe.
Yeah.
Set your time to WCBS News 88. 4 tones will follow. The fourth and final tone marks the exact time.
It's 10 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.